Lara Quinn trudged across the rocky plains of Zephyra, her daughter's small satchel bouncing against her hip. The wind howled across the barren land, carrying dust and the faint metallic scent of distant ruins. She had traveled far to gather rare fuel crystals needed to power her daughter's small home on the mining colony. She was tired, hungry, and worried, but her determination pushed her forward. The sky above was streaked with red and gold as the twin suns began to set. As Lara climbed a ridge, she noticed something unusual, a dark shape moving among the rocks below. At first she thought it was a shadow, then a boulder, but as she drew closer she realized it was much larger than any creature she had ever seen. She froze, her heart pounding. There, in a small canyon, lay a dragon. Its massive body was scarred, wings torn and folded awkwardly, and its glowing eyes were half closed, filled with pain. Every breath it took made a low, raspy hiss that echoed against the canyon walls. Aliens in the nearby settlement had warned her about the dragon. "It's dangerous," they had said. "No one can feed it, no one can touch it. It will kill you." But Lara's instincts as a mother and caretaker refused to turn her away. She knelt behind a rock, watching the dragon carefully. Its chest rose and fell with shallow, strained breaths. Its scales were dull, chipped, and covered with dust and dried blood. She could see deep wounds along its sides and a tear in one of its massive wings. It was clear the dragon was dying and no one else dared to help. Lara thought about her daughter, about how sometimes the smallest acts of courage could make the biggest difference. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "I can do this. I have to try." Slowly, she reached into her pack and pulled out a small supply of nutrient paste and water. It wasn't much, but it was enough to give the dragon a chance. She set the supplies down on a flat rock, keeping her distance. The dragon stirred, lifting its massive head slightly. Its glowing eyes locked onto the small human figure nearby. It growled softly, a sound of confusion and fear rather than aggression. Lara stayed still, speaking in a low, calm voice. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you," she said. Her words barely carried across the canyon, but somehow the tone seemed to matter more than the volume. The dragon's eyes narrowed, studying her carefully. Minutes passed in tense silence. Lara kept her movements slow and deliberate. She knew that any sudden motion could trigger an attack. Slowly, she inched closer, placing small portions of the nutrient paste closer to the dragon. Its nostrils flared as it sniffed the air, and it let out a low hiss. Lara froze, her heart hammering. She could see the caution and fear in its eyes, but also the hunger and weakness. The dragon's survival depended on her, and that thought gave her courage. She remembered the makeshift feeding techniques she had read about in old human texts. With gentle precision, she mashed some of the nutrient paste into small, soft lumps and rolled them closer to the dragon, speaking softly all the while. The dragon's eyes followed every movement, tracking the food but also tracking her hands. It twitched its tail, shifting slightly, unsure whether to attack or eat. Lara remained still, showing no fear. "You're safe," she whispered again. "Just try a little. That's all I need." After a long, tense moment, the dragon moved. Slowly, almost painfully, it reached out a massive claw and nudged one of the nutrient lumps toward itself. It sniffed it, lifted its head, and hissed. Lara held her breath, frozen in place. The dragon sniffed again, pressed its nose gently into the paste, and finally tasted it. Its massive jaw chewed slowly, cautiously, but it ate. Lara let out a soft sigh of relief. The first bite was small, but it was a start. The dragon's tail twitched less nervously, and its breathing became slightly steadier. Lara continued speaking softly, offering more lumps of food, keeping her distance but showing presence. She could see the faint flicker of trust forming in the dragon's eyes. It was weak, yes, but intelligent. She had learned that the moment she tried to approach directly, it flinched, but when she stayed calm and offered choice, it responded. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the canyon, Lara realized she needed to prepare for the night. The desert could get dangerously cold, and the dragon's condition made it vulnerable. She scavenged nearby rocks and metal scraps to build a small shelter, leaning them against the canyon walls to shield the dragon from the wind. It watched her cautiously but didn't move away. Every movement she made was slow, deliberate, and careful to avoid startling it. By nightfall, the dragon had eaten more than half of the paste. It lay back down, exhausted but calmer. Lara stayed close, her hands resting lightly on a rock between them, as if to show presence and safety. She whispered softly, "Rest now. You're safe here. I won't leave." The dragon's glowing eyes flickered toward her, then closed slowly. For the first time in days, it seemed to relax even slightly. Lara allowed herself a brief moment of hope. She knew the days ahead would be difficult. The dragon's wounds needed attention, its strength needed to return, and the challenges of feeding it safely would test her skills and courage. But for now she had achieved the unthinkable. She had made contact, gained trust, and offered hope where everyone else had failed. The alien villagers, hiding and watching from afar, whispered in disbelief. No human had ever dared approach the dying dragon. Lara had done what no one else could. She looked at the glowing eyes of the massive creature, thinking about her daughter and how courage sometimes meant stepping into the impossible. The night air was cold and still, and the twin moons reflected faintly in the dragon's eyes. Lara knew this was only the beginning. The first steps had been taken and a bond was forming, one that could change the dragon's fate and perhaps hers as well. As the canyon settled into silence, Lara settled nearby, keeping watch. The desert wind carried the scent of metal, dust, and the faint, lingering warmth of life. She whispered again softly, "We'll get through this, together." The dragon let out a soft, low rumble in response, a sound that was almost like acknowledgement. For the first time since its suffering began, the creature had a chance. And it was all because a human single mom had dared the unthinkable. Lara woke before dawn, the cold wind biting at her face. The dragon lay on the canyon floor, breathing shallowly, its glowing eyes flicking open as she approached. She carried a small satchel filled with nutrient paste, water, and tools she hoped could help. Her hands trembled slightly, but not from fear, from the weight of responsibility. She had promised her daughter she would return safe, and now she had to keep a promise to the dragon too. The dragon lifted its massive head slowly, watching her every move. It growled softly, a low warning that could have made any alien retreat. Lara froze, keeping her movements slow. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm just here to help. Nothing more." She placed a small portion of nutrient paste on a flat rock a few meters away, then stepped back, showing she meant no harm. The dragon sniffed the air cautiously, shifting its weight, unsure whether to attack or eat. Minutes passed in tense silence. The dragon stared at the paste, then at Lara, its glowing eyes bright in the morning light. Lara spoke softly again, "You're hungry, I know. You need to eat. Just a little, that's all." Slowly the dragon inched forward, snatching a small lump with its massive claw and bringing it to its mouth. It chewed carefully as if testing the taste and the safety of the human nearby. Lara exhaled quietly, relieved. The first successful bite had been taken. Encouraged, Lara tried again. She offered more paste, placing it closer to the dragon each time. The creature's movements were hesitant, cautious, but it gradually accepted the food. Lara observed carefully, noting its reactions. The flick of its tail, the tilt of its head, the way it sniffed before eating. Every gesture taught her something about how to communicate and build trust. Patience was key. By mid-morning, Lara realized she needed to try a more direct approach. She couldn't just leave food nearby. The dragon was too weak to feed itself properly. She grabbed a long metal scoop from her pack and gently tried to offer the paste closer to its mouth. The dragon hissed loudly, pulling back, wings twitching nervously. Lara froze, her heart racing. She understood immediately, any sudden movement or pressure could provoke it. She spoke softly, "It's okay, I won't hurt you. Just trust me a little." Hours passed with small, careful steps. Lara adjusted her position slowly, offering tiny amounts of paste by hand and using the scoop only when the dragon relaxed. She talked softly, humming a low tune she remembered from her childhood, hoping the sound would calm it. Eventually, the dragon allowed her to touch the paste near its mouth. It tasted cautiously, then licked more eagerly. Lara smiled quietly, progress had been made. While feeding, Lara noticed the dragon's body shivering slightly. It was weak from hunger and injury. She carefully examined its wounds from a distance, noting deep cuts along the wings and sides. Some scales were cracked, revealing raw flesh underneath. She took out a small healing gel and cautiously approached again, speaking softly. The dragon lifted its head and growled, warning her to stay back. She froze, then paused, letting it settle. Slowly, she moved the gel closer without touching it. The dragon sniffed the gel, sniffed her hand, and after tense moments, nudged the gel with its snout. Lara quickly applied a thin layer to one of the smaller wounds, careful not to scare the dragon. It flinched but didn't lash out. She whispered, "Good, that's it. You're safe. You're doing well." The dragon exhaled a low hiss, then settled back down, seemingly acknowledging her words. Lara's heart pounded with relief. Trust was growing. She knew it would take days to fully heal the dragon, but the first connection had been made. Later that day, as the twin suns climbed higher, Lara realized the dragon needed water. She poured some into a shallow container and placed it near the creature. The dragon watched cautiously, then dipped its snout in slowly, lapping carefully. Lara stepped back, letting it drink in peace. Each successful action built trust, and she could feel the creature slowly responding to her calm presence. While caring for the dragon, Lara heard distant noises. Other aliens were watching, whispering among themselves. They had refused to feed or approach the dragon, calling it too dangerous. Yet here was a human, carefully working with the massive creature. Lara ignored their murmurs, focusing entirely on the dragon. She knew that patience, empathy, and intelligence were stronger than fear and size. By evening, the dragon had eaten enough to stabilize slightly. Its glowing eyes were brighter, though still filled with pain. Lara set up a small shelter using scraps of metal and rocks, creating a windbreak to protect it from the cold night. The dragon lay down, muscles twitching slightly, and let out a low rumble. Lara understood it as a sign of partial acceptance, a small trust forming between them. That night, Lara stayed nearby, keeping watch. She whispered softly, "You're safe now. I won't leave." The dragon's eyes flickered toward her and then closed slowly. Lara smiled quietly, exhausted but determined. She knew tomorrow would be another challenge, feeding the dragon, treating its wounds, and continuing to gain its trust. But the first attempt had succeeded. The unthinkable was happening. A human single mom was feeding a dragon that no one else could touch. In the darkness, the wind blew softly through the canyon. Lara reflected on her life, her daughter, the hardships she had faced, and the courage that had brought her here. She realized that empathy and determination could bridge gaps between species, even in a galaxy full of fear and prejudice. The dragon, once dying and feared by all, now had a chance because she dared to act when others refused. By dawn, Lara was already preparing for the next feeding session. The dragon stirred, lifting its massive head. Its eyes glowed brighter than yesterday, and it moved a little more confidently. Lara knew it was only the beginning, but the connection was growing. Patience, care, and courage were building a bridge between human and beast, one small step at a time. She whispered again softly, "We'll get through this, together." The dragon rumbled in response, a deep, vibrating sound that felt almost like acknowledgement. Lara's first attempt had succeeded. Tomorrow she would try again and the bond would grow stronger. The sun rose slowly over the canyon, casting warm light on the dragon's scales. Lara approached carefully, carrying a small tray of nutrient paste and water. The dragon lifted its massive head as she came closer, its glowing eyes tracking her movements. It no longer hissed at her, but there was still caution in its gaze. Lara smiled softly. "Good morning. Let's start slowly, okay?" she whispered. She placed the paste in front of the dragon and stepped back. The creature sniffed the food, then looked at Lara. This time, instead of hesitating, it picked up a small portion with its claw and brought it to its mouth. Lara watched intently, noting how it moved, how it breathed, how its tail twitched. She realized the dragon was learning to trust her, understanding that she meant no harm. Each movement was a test, each bite a small victory. Over the next days, Lara continued her careful routine. She spoke softly, hummed low tunes, and used gentle hand gestures to signal safety. The dragon began to respond not just to her voice but to her movements. When she crouched, it relaxed. When she tapped the ground lightly, it shifted closer. A bond was forming, a silent communication between human and beast. Lara marveled at the intelligence in its eyes. She had expected instinct, fear, or aggression, but the dragon was learning, adapting, and even anticipating her actions. One morning, Lara noticed the dragon struggling to reach the nutrient paste. Its wounds were still tender and it hesitated. She remembered a lesson from her daughter. Sometimes helping meant letting the other take the lead. Lara picked up a long scoop and gently offered the paste closer to the dragon's mouth. It sniffed, then licked the end of the scoop carefully. Lara held her breath. Slowly, it opened its jaws wider and ate, showing more confidence than before. The dragon's strength was returning. Its wings twitched, testing movement, and it began to shift its massive weight more easily. Lara encouraged it gently, guiding small stretches and movements. She could see muscles flexing, energy returning, and more importantly, trust growing. The dragon no longer flinched at her presence. It watched her, listened to her, and sometimes even followed her gestures before she spoke. One afternoon, a small predator appeared in the canyon, a jagged, insect-like creature with sharp claws. It hissed and advanced toward the dragon, sensing weakness. The dragon froze, unprepared to fight. Lara shouted, "Stay back." The dragon growled, then hesitated, confused. Lara pointed at the predator, clapped, and tapped the ground with her foot. The dragon's eyes flicked to her, and with a low rumble, it sprang into action. It roared loudly, wings flaring, and forced the predator to retreat. Lara felt a thrill of pride. They were beginning to act as a team. That night, Lara settled beside the dragon, carefully keeping a safe distance. She whispered softly, "You did well today. I'm proud of you." The dragon rumbled back, a deep vibrating sound that seemed almost like a reply. Lara realized the creature was responding emotionally, recognizing praise and trust. It pressed its massive head toward her, resting it lightly near her feet. For the first time, the dragon sought comfort from her presence, showing that the bond had moved beyond simple survival. In the following days, Lara introduced small games and exercises to strengthen both trust and muscles. She rolled small rocks, creating paths for the dragon to step over, and placed nutrient paste at various points to encourage movement. The dragon followed her instructions almost intuitively, shifting its massive body with grace despite its injuries. Each exercise was a lesson in cooperation, and each successful attempt built confidence for both human and dragon. The alien villagers, observing from a distance, whispered in disbelief. "No human could tame it," one said. "Yet she moves with it and it listens," another replied. Lara ignored them, focusing entirely on the bond forming before her. She realized that empathy, patience, and intelligence were the keys to this connection, qualities humans had in abundance, even when facing creatures thought untouchable. One evening, as the twin moons rose and cast silver light across the canyon, Lara noticed the dragon approaching her voluntarily. It sniffed her hand and nudged her gently, then lay down beside her, resting its massive head on her lap. Lara's heart raced with awe. This was more than trust, it was acceptance. The dragon had begun to see her not as a threat, not just as a caretaker but as a companion. She whispered softly, "We're partners now. You and I." The dragon rumbled in agreement, its body trembling slightly as it relaxed completely in her presence. During this time, Lara also discovered the dragon's intelligence. It seemed to anticipate her actions, responding to small gestures before she even spoke. She could see it watching her, studying her movements, learning patterns. Sometimes it even mimicked small gestures, tilting its head, shifting its claws, or nudging objects toward her. The connection was growing into a language all their own, built on patience, trust, and mutual respect. Then came the true test. A rival scavenger group arrived, hoping to capture the weakened dragon for profit. Lara and the dragon were ready. She signaled with subtle gestures, and the dragon flared its wings, blocked paths, and positioned itself strategically. The scavengers advanced, but each movement was anticipated. The dragon followed Lara's guidance, not blindly, but with intelligence and cooperation. They forced the attackers back, driving them away without unnecessary violence. Lara felt a rush of pride. Her bond with the dragon had made them stronger than any opponent. After the threat passed, Lara tended the dragon's wounds and offered food and water. The dragon accepted her care willingly, no longer hesitating. Its glowing eyes watched her with recognition and gratitude. Lara whispered, "You've done so well. We're safe now for a while." The dragon rumbled softly, nudging her hand gently. Their connection had become unbreakable. By the end of the week, the dragon was moving more confidently, stretching its wings, and showing strength returning to its massive body. Lara had not only healed it physically, but she had also restored its spirit. It followed her commands, sometimes even anticipating her gestures. They moved together as a team, communicating silently, ready for whatever challenges the canyon, or the galaxy, might throw at them. That night, under the twin moons, Lara rested beside the dragon. She whispered softly, "We've come so far. And this is just the beginning." The dragon pressed its head gently against her shoulder, a sign of complete trust and loyalty. Lara smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. She had created a bond that transcended fear, species, and expectation. Together they were stronger, smarter, and unstoppable. Outside the canyon, the wind whispered across the rocky terrain, carrying the scent of life, trust, and hope. Lara realized humans had an edge others could not match: empathy, courage, and intelligence. The dragon, once feared by all, now rested peacefully beside a human, ready to face the future as a partner. Their bond had transformed them both, creating a connection that no alien skepticism could shake. For the first time, Lara allowed herself to hope. The dragon was no longer dying, no longer alone. And together they were prepared for whatever trials awaited, bound by trust, courage, and the unbreakable bond they had forged. The morning sun bathed the canyon in a golden glow as Lara prepared food for the dragon. Its massive form rested nearby, muscles flexing slightly as it stretched. Over the past week, it had grown stronger, moving with more confidence and responding to Lara's gestures almost instinctively. Today she knew could be the real test. The canyon was no longer safe. Predators and scavengers had been drawn to the presence of a powerful dragon, and Lara had to ensure they could defend themselves. As she scattered nutrient paste near the dragon, a faint vibration ran through the ground. Lara's ears perked up. From the ridge above, a group of alien scavengers crept closer, drawn by the scent of the dragon and the chance for profit. They were armed with energy nets and blasters, confident that the weakened dragon would be easy prey. Lara's heart raced, but she stayed calm. She crouched, gesturing subtly to the dragon. It tilted its massive head, eyes glowing, and slowly stood. Its wings flexed slightly, a warning to intruders. The scavengers advanced, stepping carefully over rocks. Lara whispered, "Stay with me. Watch me do what I do." The dragon growled low, rumbling through the canyon floor. Lara pointed toward a pile of loose rocks and tapped the ground. The dragon moved in precise coordination, blocking the path of the first scavenger. The alien froze, surprised by the dragon's sudden action, giving Lara an opening to act. Using her knowledge of the terrain, Lara kicked a small boulder down the slope. It rolled toward the scavengers, forcing them to scatter. The dragon followed her gestures, flaring its wings and letting out a deafening roar. The sound echoed through the canyon, shaking loose dust and startling the intruders. Lara watched in awe as the dragon moved with precision, not blindly, but responding intelligently to her subtle commands. It was no longer just an animal, it was a partner. The lead scavenger tried to throw a net over the dragon, but Lara clapped sharply and pointed. The dragon leapt sideways, swiping the net aside with one massive claw. The other scavengers hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. Lara seized the moment, rolling another boulder into their path. The dragon mirrored her movements, blocking any path of advance. Within moments, the scavengers were forced to retreat, their confidence shattered by the coordinated human-dragon team. Lara exhaled slowly, trying to steady her racing heart. She approached the dragon, offering a portion of nutrient paste as a reward. The dragon accepted it willingly, crunching the paste between its massive jaws. Its glowing eyes flicked toward her, a sign of trust and recognition. Lara patted a claw gently, whispering, "You did amazing. We did this together." The dragon rumbled in response, nudging her hand as if acknowledging her praise. The real test, however, was not over. Word of the dragon and its human companion had spread across the canyon, and soon a second group of scavengers arrived, this time larger, better armed, and more determined. Lara's mind raced. She couldn't let them harm the dragon, and she had to keep them at bay without unnecessary violence. She glanced at the dragon, whose glowing eyes reflected understanding. Together they would face this new challenge. Using hand gestures and subtle movements, Lara directed the dragon to strategic positions. She climbed a small ridge, signaling the dragon to block the central path. The scavengers advanced, confident but unaware of the human's intelligence and the dragon's regained strength. Lara picked up a few rocks and small debris, ready to roll them down if needed. The dragon followed her cues perfectly, flaring its wings, stomping the ground, and positioning itself to block any approach. The first scout tried to circle around, but Lara clapped sharply and pointed. The dragon reacted instantly, moving to intercept without hesitation. It lunged forward with precision, forcing the alien to retreat. Lara moved quickly to block another path, and the dragon mirrored her actions. Each movement was coordinated, silent communication passing between them. The scavengers, used to fear and aggression from dragons, were stunned. They had never seen a creature respond so intelligently, so in sync with a human. Hours passed as the confrontation continued. Lara and the dragon moved fluidly, using the terrain, small traps, and precise timing to repel the intruders. The scavengers tried to use energy nets and blasters, but every attack was anticipated. Rocks tumbled down cliffs, dust clouds obscured vision, and the dragon's massive form blocked every attempt to reach Lara. She realized that courage alone was not enough. Intelligence, strategy, and trust were what made them unbeatable. By late afternoon, the scavengers finally retreated, defeated and humiliated. Lara and the dragon stood side by side, breathing heavily, muscles tense but ready. Lara approached the dragon, offering water and speaking softly. "We did it. You were incredible," she whispered. The dragon pressed its massive head against her shoulder, a sign of deep trust and loyalty. For the first time, it sought comfort from her presence, acknowledging not just her leadership but their bond. That evening, as the twin moons rose over the canyon, Lara and the dragon settled near the shelter she had built. The dragon lay down, wings folded carefully, while Lara kept watch. She whispered softly, "You've grown stronger, braver, smarter. I'm proud of you." The dragon rumbled, a deep sound that resonated through the canyon, and nudged her gently. Lara smiled, realizing that this test of courage had forged more than strength. It had solidified their partnership. Over the next few days, Lara continued to strengthen the dragon, both physically and mentally. They practiced small exercises, tested movement through the rocky terrain, and reinforced trust through gestures and soft words. The dragon responded instantly to her cues, anticipating her instructions, and acting with intelligence and confidence. Each day brought small victories, longer steps, stronger roars, and improved agility. The bond between human and dragon was unbreakable. Alien observers, once skeptical, now watched in awe. A single human, they realized, had accomplished what no alien had managed. Not only had Lara fed and healed the dragon, but she had trained it, forming a partnership based on trust, strategy, and courage. The canyon echoed with whispered admiration. Lara, a single mother from a distant colony, had proven that humans could overcome fear and danger with intelligence and empathy. By the end of the week, the dragon was fully capable of defending itself and acting in perfect coordination with Lara. Predators and scavengers had learned to avoid the canyon entirely. The human and dragon duo had become a legend in the region. Lara knew that their bond was the real key. The courage to face danger together and the patience to understand each other had created a strength unmatched by fear or force alone. That night, under the twin moons, Lara rested beside the dragon. Its glowing eyes followed her movements, and it pressed its massive head against her, a clear sign of trust and loyalty. Lara whispered softly, "We've passed the test. Together we can face anything." The dragon rumbled in agreement, its body relaxed but alert, ready for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. For the first time, Lara allowed herself to feel a sense of triumph. Courage had been tested, and intelligence, patience, and empathy had won. The dragon, once feared and dying, now stood strong and loyal, a symbol of what humans could achieve. They had passed the ultimate test, not just of survival but of trust, partnership, and courage. Outside, the canyon settled into quiet night, the wind carrying the scent of rocks, life, and hope. Lara and the dragon lay side by side, ready for the future. The unthinkable had been achieved. A human had tamed, healed, and partnered with a dragon, and their courage had created a force no one could ignore. Together they were unstoppable. The first light of dawn painted the canyon in soft gold. Lara stood at the edge of the rocky plateau, the dragon beside her, its massive body stretched and strong. The past weeks had changed everything. The creature was no longer weak or fearful. Its wounds had healed, its scales shone with health, and its glowing eyes reflected intelligence and loyalty. Lara ran her hand gently over its snout. "We've come far," she whispered. The dragon rumbled in response, nudging her hand like a gesture of acknowledgement. Word of the human and her dragon had spread across the planet. Alien villagers and explorers who had once feared and avoided the beast now watched with awe from a safe distance. Some whispered about her bravery, others about her cleverness, but all agreed on one thing. Lara and her dragon had created something no one thought possible. A human, small and seemingly powerless, had gained the trust and partnership of a mighty dragon. It was proof that courage and empathy could achieve the impossible. Lara packed her satchel with supplies, nutrient paste, water, and a few small tools. She knew they would need to move. The canyon, once a place of danger and uncertainty, had become their home, but there was a wider galaxy to explore. The dragon shifted its weight, wings twitching in anticipation. Lara smiled. "Ready?" she asked. The dragon rumbled loudly, a sound full of agreement and eagerness. Together they were prepared to face the unknown. As they began to walk across the rocky terrain, Lara reflected on everything they had faced. The dragon had been dying, rejected by all, feared by all. But she had seen beyond its wounds and size, reaching the creature with patience, intelligence, and care. They had faced predators, scavengers, and skepticism and had emerged stronger. Each challenge had strengthened their bond, turning fear into trust and weakness into strength. Lara knew this bond was the real power. The journey ahead was not simple. Alien scavengers might return, other predators might lurk, and the galaxy itself held dangers beyond imagination. But Lara had learned something important. Humans had an edge. Their courage, intelligence, and empathy allowed them to do what others could not. And the dragon, loyal and intelligent, was now more than a companion. It was a partner in survival, in strategy, and in life. As they moved, Lara taught the dragon small lessons. She pointed to rocks, teaching it to navigate tricky paths. She tapped on the ground, signaling it to pause or move. The dragon responded instantly, following her gestures and sometimes anticipating them before she acted. It was clear that the bond had grown into a silent language, a communication built on trust, respect, and intelligence. Lara marveled at it. The dragon had learned quickly, but she had learned just as much, about patience, courage, and the strength of connection. During the journey, they came across a small herd of alien grazing creatures. They were wary, fleeing at the first sight of the dragon. Lara knelt and whispered to the dragon, "Let's not scare them. Move slowly." The dragon lowered its massive head and stepped carefully, its claws avoiding the creatures. Lara watched with pride as the dragon adapted to her instructions, showing both intelligence and restraint. Together they moved like a single unit, capable of navigating danger with precision. At night, they settled under a cliff, the twin moons casting silver light over the landscape. Lara offered nutrient paste and water. The dragon ate carefully, no longer hesitant, and then lay beside her, wings folded, muscles relaxed but alert. Lara touched its massive snout gently. "We've survived. We've thrived. And this is just the start." The dragon rumbled softly as if in agreement, and rested its head near her lap. She smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment and connection. Over the next few days they traveled farther from the canyon, exploring valleys, cliffs, and distant ridges. Lara found new sources of food and water, and the dragon learned to hunt and navigate, guided by her instructions. Every challenge strengthened their bond. The dragon's intelligence grew, but so did Lara's confidence. She had faced fear, danger, and doubt, and had succeeded. Humans were not weak, she realized. They were adaptable, clever, and brave in ways others could not imagine. In one valley they encountered another dragon, smaller and injured, hiding from predators. Lara approached cautiously, offering help. The healed dragon watched, then nudged Lara gently, signaling trust and support. Together they cared for the smaller dragon, using the same methods that had built their bond. Lara realized that this was more than survival, it was leadership. She and her dragon could protect others, teach, and form bonds that no one else could. The alien villagers who had once feared her began to visit from a distance, observing in awe. They whispered about the human who tamed and healed a mighty dragon, and how she moved with intelligence and courage. Some brought small gifts of food or tools, showing respect for her achievements. Lara nodded politely, knowing that her actions had changed perception. Humans were no longer seen as fragile or weak. They were beings capable of shaping life, forming bonds, and commanding respect. One evening, as the twin suns set, Lara climbed a ridge with the dragon beside her. They looked out over the canyon, the valley, and distant mountains. The view was breathtaking, and Lara felt a deep sense of hope. "We've come far," she whispered. The dragon pressed its head against her shoulder, glowing eyes reflecting the golden light. Together they had survived, adapted, and grown stronger. The galaxy was vast, but they were ready. The journey of a human and a dragon had begun as an impossible task. No one could feed the dying dragon, yet Lara had done the unthinkable. She had healed it, gained its trust, and formed a partnership that transcended species. She realized that humans had a unique edge in the galaxy: empathy, intelligence, courage, and the ability to connect where others could not. From that day forward, Lara and the dragon became legends. Stories spread across planets and settlements, tales of a single human mother who tamed and healed a mighty beast, facing predators, scavengers, and fear itself. They traveled together, protecting creatures, exploring new territories, and facing challenges with intelligence and courage. The dragon, once feared and dying, was now a symbol of humanity's potential. Under the twin moons, Lara and her dragon rested after a long day of travel. The canyon was quiet, and the night air was cool and still. She whispered softly, "This is our new era. Together, nothing can stop us." The dragon rumbled in agreement, a deep sound of trust, loyalty, and shared purpose. They had not only survived, they had thrived. They had created a bond that no fear, predator, or alien skepticism could break. The galaxy stretched before them, full of challenges, dangers, and mysteries. Lara and the dragon moved forward as partners, equal in trust and courage. Their journey was no longer just about survival, it was about discovery, protection, and proving that humans had an edge no one could ignore. Together they were unstoppable, forging a new era of hope, strength, and legend. Lara smiled as she stroked the dragon's snout. The twin moons reflected in its glowing eyes, and she felt an unshakable certainty. The unthinkable had been achieved. A human had tamed a mighty dragon, healed it, and together they would explore the galaxy, face dangers, and protect life in ways no one else could. Humanity's edge was clear, and it had begun with courage, empathy, and the simple decision to try when everyone else had turned away.